Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Debbie Jo from Project Life Deb's Way. I've got a fantastic process video for you, and this is a preview of what I will be doing. In this video I will do the process from start to finish with lots of tips and techniques along the way. I've used the Crazy-Craft collection called Explorer for this, and it is a travel layout. And please don't forget to leave a comment if you do like the video, or if you've got any questions, or you would like a different paper line, and I can incorporate that in my future videos. So let's get started with making our cards. Here we have the Kaiser Explorer collection pad. It has some great papers, and because I'm doing a travel layout this time for a change, I'll just quickly show you the paper. It definitely has some very nice colours to go, and you could use this for your telling your story. It also has your sticker pack, and it has some terrific very muted papers that you could do an awful lot with. And I got the ephemera pack that came with it, but I have added some just in small, because I'm going to be using tags. I also found in my stash, I have a Tim Holtz stamp that I use a lot. It was well worth money paying for the stamp set, and I will show you how I make tags with my washi tape and some stamps. I also found just some plain tags, which of course you can put your own eyelets in or anything like that, which we'll be dressing up. And I've got a script washi tape that we can use to make our tags. And to do our tags, I just need to add from my secret stash just a creamy spludgy piece of paper that I can stick my washi tape to make my tags. I also have going to use, I have a collection of stamps that I use an awful lot with sort of some small bits and sort of labels and things and tickets and that. So I'll be using some of these to make my tags to just stamp on top of my washi. I also have gone into what I call my small Emphoria, which I have things. I've actually bought a digital set which I print off, and then I've cut them up into my little bits onto photographic adhesive paper, which is absolutely amazing. So you can buy your digital sets and actually print things off, and there's also a lot of freebie sites that you can get things from. I also have got freebie sets of things like the small tickets and things, and you can buy these on the digitals, or as I said, you can have a look on your freebie sites and pick them up for nothing, and then just print them up, and then you can make them as small or as big as you like. But I do like having what I call my small ephemera, and then I have my small tag ephemera to use on certain things, particularly when you're doing small tags and things. You can put some of your little squares just to dress them up. So they're the things that I'll be using. I have decided this time to use black photo mats and a brown ink for my edging. So let's get on with making our travel layout. The process video. I have got these pieces of cardboard which I've just cut, which are larger than my 12 by 12 layouts, so that I can put my cards as I'm doing them on here, so that I can actually play around to see how the cards look and etc., and also see how the layout's looking as I do the cards. So I've got a few of these boards, and also too then if I want to use my desktop, I can just move my board and I haven't upset my cards. So what I do is when I'm doing my layered cards with a small border, I just have my piece of paper and make sure that it is 12 by 12, because some of them have a small lip, and as you can tell, this particular one is 12 by 12, so it does make it easy. Yep. So what I do is I cut them in half, and if you're doing a border around all of your cards, you will need 2 sheets of cardstock. Make sure they're all lined up, and just cut them into down the middle. Then I cut them 4 by 6. This of course depends on what pocket layouts you're doing, but I always do the 6 by 4 and 3 by 4 mainly. So cut all of those cards into 4 by 6s. Like so, and then you need 2 of those 4 by 6s, which you then chop into 3 by 4s, and that will give you all your mats for your pocket pages to then work with. So once I have done that, I then work out whether I'm going to have portrait on this side or landscape. So just for arguments, we are going to put portrait on this side. So what I do is I lay my cards out. Like so. And then I just put my little 3 by 4s where they need to be, and that gives me the basis on which to work with. And of course then I start working out what colour sheets, and as you know, I have just used these sheets here. I work out what colour base cards I'm going to have, and if I have one base colour on this side, I always have a matching base colour on this side, and the same applies for my 3 by 4s. I normally do 2 photographs on the 3 by 4s, but if you want more portrait photographs, you can actually use your eye candy card, which is normally this one, and use these 2 as your eye candy and put your photograph on this one. That works as well. So yeah, so if I use one of these for a 6 by 4, I'll always put one on the matching side. It just gives you a better looking layout if you match the sides up together. So that's how I do my process, and then I work out what photographs I need and what photo mats, and then I cut my photo mats, which are always in white, black or cream, depending on what my layout is going to be. And I normally always do 3 by 4 mats. Sometimes I may cut them 3 1/4 by 4 1/4, depending on what I'm doing. And so that's how I start my process. Now, as you can see here, I have actually done my layering in and put my photographs on their photo mats. And what I do then is, as I'm doing the cards, I put my bits and pieces ephemera onto my cards, and as you can see, I've layered, but you can actually see as you're progressing how things work, and whether when you look at it you think, oh, there's too much of this here or there's too much of there, and you can jiggle it around before you stick them down. So all of these are just all lying round the place. Now this particular layout was very, very difficult to do. I found it was very light on cutouts, like they only gave you 2 of the flowers in the ephemera pack, and because the flowers in this were so large, they just didn't go. So I did something I never ever do. I actually photocopied a couple of these so I could have a couple of extra flowers. And that. So this is how I work my layouts. And of course this one's got a flat pocket, so I sort of do my layering and just see whether it works, whether it goes, and etc. And then also too, you can, as you're laying your cards, if something isn't working, you can put it down in the other spot and jiggle it around before you stick them. Now, if you're having problems with a layout and you think, oh, it's just not working, and you get a blank spot where your mind just cannot get it to gel, the best thing to do is to walk away, come back to it the next day, because it's funny, when you come back the next day, you look at things in a different light and you think, oh, gee, if I move that tag here, and move that tag here, or put a flower there, which is why I had to do the extra flowers, because I looked and thought, gee, it needed something else besides just the green, the blue, which is why I put the floral in. So that is how I do it. So now what I will do is I will take each of these cards and I will actually put them all together and show you how I put my layering and etc. And as you can tell, I sort of put smaller, and then I'll cut another piece which is slightly smaller, and I jiggle my frames. And once I've actually got the layering, and what I do is I do my layering and get that sort of looking right. Then I get my euphoria that I want, and then I start jiggling. And sometimes you may find that your layering needs to be turned around the other way to actually work. So that is just the thought process that I go through to do my layouts. So let's get on with making our cards. I've talked enough. And so we start our process of our cards. And as you know, I always start from my left hand top corner, which is normally an eye candy card. So I've got my 6x4 plain blue card here. I have cut from the floral a 3 3/4 by 5 3/4, so there is a 1/4 inch, which equates to 1/8 of an inch all the way around. Now I've edged these. I like the ground espresso, not the walnut stain, because I find the walnut's a bit red, whereas this has a nice, just grungy brown. So we just lay our floral once again so that you've got an even amount all the way around. Now then I've cut in a spot which is a contrast, which I'm going to lay just here, but I want it further across in the middle, like so. So I want a little bit more on this side. Now the reason why is I want to slip a couple of pieces of green underneath. So to do this, I will put my green down first underneath, These were just a couple of pieces of scrap. We're just going to lay them down like so. Then we are going to take our piece of 5 1/4 by 3 and lay that and just center it. Like so. This is a quick and easy way that you can actually add little bits of paper without costing you an arm and a leg. Now this is where we start to build up, and as you can tell, some of the little things that I have just hooked out. And as I said, I got these from a digital set, which I've printed up on adhesive back paper. It's I think the set was only about $4, but I can use them over and over, and it came with a few specimen tags as well. And the ticket stubs were from my Tim Holtz ticket stamps that I bought with, so yeah, this was really worth buying. So to get it the right way, I'm just going to do that. So I basically, and we're just going to quickly lay these down. So I know the basic placement. So once I've done that, you can stick your pieces down into some semblance of order. So now this was one of the tags I just got out of my stock. If you haven't got this, just cut yourself a tag and make a hole. You can put a bit of texture or something around the hole to make it look like you've got a stud. Pop this down. I'm still undecided about that ribbon, but I will see once it's finished. Okay, I just cut a piece of blue to actually just line inside, so it depends on how big your tag is to how big your little sheet will be, which came from the floral. So we're just going to pop that on top. Now, if you've got a ticket like this, you can actually cut that in half and keep the other bit for somewhere else, because I really just want it tucked underneath, like so. Now with these, and there we have. So what I will do now, I always keep a little bit of liquid glue. I don't use a lot of it because it can actually make your cards buckle. But for small things like this, for in front of the camera, it's a very quick and easy way. Normally I would take the back paper off. Okay, and now we are going to put this on straight with a little bit of foam tape to make it pop. And unfortunately, I got my sticky prints when I was re-inking, but we're going to go with the flow. And we'll pull that off. And we're going to stick this on like that. Now I have some stamps here, which are quite handy to have if you can get hold of them. I've had these for quite a few years. So there we have a nice, and this came, I've got a little stamp set that this, and just cut them out. So there we have our first card completed. Now this would be our bottom left card. So once again, I've got my 6x4. I have got my 5 3/4 by 3 3/4, which will give me that 1/8 of an inch little border all the way around, just to give you your mat. And then what I am going to do is this little blue card here is going just in the bottom here, and this card is 3.5 by 2.5, which will give you that nice border. Now I'm going to pop that down the bottom. Like so. Now my photograph is a true 3x4, so I have cut my photo mat 4 3/4 by 3 1/4, which once again just gives you that nice little border all the way around. And yes, that is my ugly mugshot. So let's pop this down. Now before I pop that one down, I will actually put my photograph on there. And for once, I have actually done all of my photographs that I want for this layout. So you will actually see me putting the photographs as I do the layout, which is something that doesn't happen very often. So there we have. Now, if it looks a bit odd, just cut your photograph frame down to be even all the way around. Okay, we are going to put this up the top in the middle. So just give yourself, once again, your 1/8 of an inch. So that will give you an 1/8 of an inch here, an 1/8 of an inch here, so that all your borders and everything else match up. Now, I just found a strip of this paper here because I want that just down the bottom. So I'm going to lay that on the card. Right in the middle, all the way from edge to edge, because I want to put this piece here. Now, as you can see, it's not really popping, so I'm going to trim it down slightly so that I've got more blue showing. That's it. Now, what you can do to help this pop is very gently rub it straight. If you rub straight, you'll get a fantastic dark border. So you don't want to distress. You just want to darken your border. And that should then just highlight it enough to actually show. So now we'll put our tape on there. Pop that right underneath in the middle. Turn our cards over and cut the excess off like so, and just give it a quick edge. And there we have a very simple card, but very effective. For our top right hand card, I did make some tags. Now all I did to make my tags is I just found a bit of splodgy paper. Some of it had writing at the bottom, some of it didn't. And all I did was I got some of my script washi tape. I just laid it onto my card like so. And then I've got a tag for the rough shape that I wanted. So then I just cut for however big I wanted my tag. Just make sure it's nice and straight. If you've got little tags, you can just copy. So what you have to do here is just snip. Now how you can do this without is if you take one corner off, like so, just flap it over to the opposite way onto the other side of your tag and just cut it off. And that way you should have the same size pieces on both sides of your tag. Now I have a crocodile, but if you haven't, just one of the cheap hole punches that you've got will do. And just make a hole in the center. Now, if you haven't got these little clips, all you need to do is get yourself a small texter. And make yourself a hole like that. You could actually use a gold pen. And make yourself a ring with just a gold texture. You don't need eyelets. If you have them, it's nice. But so there we have our tag. It's a little bit wonky because I didn't really cut, but you can make yourself your tags this way. Quite nice and easy. So now on with our piece. Now as you can tell, I've got my 6x4 plain blue card. I've put my base card down, which is 5 3/4 by 4 3 3/4. Then I have cut a piece which is just over 3.5 by 3 inches, and I want this down the bottom, so we will tape that down. I used approximately 4 or 5 of these tags I made. If you haven't got any script washi, any script paper that you have, or if you've got a script stamp, which is something which is quite a nice standby to have, you can do just on cream paper and use your script stamp. A script stamp is one of those always go-to things that you would use an awful lot. Now, this is a true 3x4 photograph, so I've just done a mat which is slightly larger, which is 4 1/4 by 3 1/4, and that is going to go at the top. Like so. Now, I do print all of my own photographs up, and I do have a video on my YouTube channel showing you how I do this. Now, the great thing about having your photographs already done is you can put things on top and you don't have to worry about it. Now, I'm just going to fiddle around with this until I get how I would like. There we go. Now I will just tape my tag down. Now, as you know, I normally like things quite straight, but I do find with tags it is nice to have them slightly off center. Now I'm going to pop that into the corner and then I'm going to pop my little floral in. Now, unfortunately, with this kit, they only gave you 2 of the small flowers in the Emphoria pack. So I've had to, because the ones that were on the floral paper were just too large, I've had to photocopy a couple and cut them out because 2 was just not enough for what I wanted. And once again, I've got one of those cute little number tags that I got. As I said, that was a good $4 spent. And there we have our next card complete. So onto our bottom left hand 6x4. So I've got my 6x4 card, my 5 3/4 by 3 3/4 card, and I've edged it with the brown. This is my photograph, and this photograph here, the mat is 3x4. So I've just chopped my photograph down just a fraction to give me that border. So what we are going to do here, I've got some green to put up the top. Once again, this is all to do with our layering. And I've got my little 1/8 of an inch border around. Then I have another piece which I've just cut an odd length to go down, leaving the border like so. Then the photograph here is going to go down the bottom. So we'll pop him all of these photographs were taken on a road trip that we did to the Grampians in Victoria in Australia, and it's quite an amazing place to go to. So I'm going to have one of those little up the top here, one of my flowers. Like so. So I will wedge my flower in at the top. Just plonk him underneath, sort of overlapping a bit over everything. and I prefer Today We Were Here. So that I might put and raise it up a little bit into the eye to do that. Now this one, I'll just, there we are, we just do smiles. So we'll just get our black ink. Now I do find with these rollers, you have to get them central. Then put it down and just rock it backwards and forwards a little bit. Otherwise it might not stamp fully. I'm not the best stamper in the world. And there we have our next card done. Now we'll start on our 3x4s, which runs down the centre of the page. And as you can tell, I have got 2 photographs and I've got 2 eye candy. And one of those eye candies is going to have like a description of where these photographs were taken. So this is the first one, which goes up the top here. So I've got my 3x4 with that, and I have just cut a 3x4 in this card, and I have just taken a smidgen off of the sides just to give a very tiny border. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to put a centre. Now with these smaller cards, I tend to try and keep things central. So we're going to put this down the centre. And I've edged them. Make sure if you've got any dates and things that the actual dates run the correct way. There is nothing worse than having print upside down. Just one of my petty hates. Particularly when you've got tags and things, always make your script is running the right way. And then we're going to do this one in the middle. And this came off a sticker sheet, so we should, by rights, be able to peel the back off. And that's going in the middle, like so. And I think this is one of the tags I made, but I did make this one slightly longer, so it was nearly from edge to edge. So we are going to attach him down. And once again, you don't have to use an awful lot of tape because these things are going in an album where they are protected. So I've put this on some foam tape just to give it a bit of depth. And I'm sort of going to put it in the middle, just off center, like so. And then this is going to go down here, and I will use on this wooden element which came out of my stash. It's just an oddment I had left over, so I can use it, and I'll attach that. Then all we have to do then is, watching that we don't unstick, and just get a little bit of where I've cut the edges. There we have our first eye candy for the top. Now this one here, I've got my 3x4 and the mat, once again, the photograph is 3 3/4 by 2 3/4, and what I did is I just cut a little bit of black matting just with a tiny little edge. Normally what you could do there is to actually stick your photograph down first, then cut around the edges, because it does make positioning them much easier. So there we have there, and now I'm going to attach that just onto my card like that. So we have our photograph card done. This is another photograph card where I have done exactly the same. I've just cut a tiny border around the outside, and I've done, the photograph is 3 1/2 by 2 1/4, and I've just put a tiny little frame and eyeballed it. And we're going to pop that into the middle so that your photo frames are the same but sort of different. And so here comes our last card, and I've made this mainly out of scraps. Because I did my photographs, I was able to do a bit of a journaling card that I had on my computer, and I actually typed up my information to explain what year we went and what we were doing. So what I've got here is I got a bit of the floral, and I only had a bit left at this stage, so I've used scraps and I've edged that. And popping that on to there with the bottom of a different colour. Then I found some of this was on the sticker sheet, so I just got some film strip, which I'm going to pop to hide my join, like so. Now this is going to go here, like so, and I'm going to put my Explore here and just pop the flower over the top like so. So we'll stick that down. You could call this like my story card. And then just pop flower in over the top. So there we have our 4 cards, very, very easily finished and done. So here we have our left hand side. Now I do have a confession to make. When I put these in, they were running off the page here. And if you have a look here, it looks very odd. So what I'm going to do, I pulled them off. I'm just going to poke them underneath. Like so. And just have them sticking out like so. It just looked odd, so we've fixed that little mistake there, because that way you've got a nice smooth line running through. So now let's get on with our other side of our layout. Now this is our top card that we're doing for our landscape. So once again, I have got my 4x6, and then I have cut my 1/4 inch off 2 sides to give me. Now when you're cutting your papers, if you remember rightly, I always use the same papers on either side. So if you're cutting one of these cards, I would cut a second one for your other side of your layout. So then you actually got all your base papers cut before you start using scraps, so you won't run out of paper. It's just a little hint that I do. So if I do one of these for my left hand, I will always cut a second one the same size for my other side, and just pop it onto your piece of cardboard if you do the same system as me, so that you can actually see what you're actually designing when you're putting your papers together. It just makes it a little bit easier, and then you know what scraps you got left to play with. So now out of my little scrap bin, I've got one of these cards here, which is 2 inches by 3.5. So we're going to just pop that on the top, and then we are going to layer over the other side like so. And this one is 4.5 by 3.5, and then I cut my photo mat to be 4.25 by 3.25 because I've got a true 3x4 photograph on there. So we'll get and I've edged all my cards in the brown ink. Okay. And then this the photo should just fit on. So I'm just using it like an extra little photo frame. Like so. Now, unfortunately, I need to lift that up just a bit. Now, I found a postcard that was in the inferior, and also one of my little tags, which I've cut it off a little bit shorter. All my tags were the same width. I just adjusted the length. So I want my little tag in here. And then I'm going to never waste anything, because that can go into your little box of tricks to use for something else, which you could use on the left hand side. These things are always so expensive to buy. I'll just poke him in behind, and then I'm going to very sneakily just pop my little tag in. Now, with my little tag, some of these were a bit plain. I wanted to add a little bit of extra to my tag, but I didn't want these flowers here. So what you can do is you put a piece of paper over the top to the bits that you don't want. Just stamp down, and it just will give you an extra little bit of something on your tag, but not all over your tag. So there we go, we'll stick him in. And I would like one of my little ephemera pieces in, so I'll just delve into my box of tricks. And find a little tiny small one. And I might also find a small, there we go, that's perfect. So I will just glue him down. There's our card, and as I said, later on you could use that sort of tucked in for something else, so you haven't wasted your ephemera, because it is expensive. On to our next. Now I've got my 6x4, 5 3/4 by 3 3/4. I have just cut a piece that is just over 5.5 by 2 inches. And I'm going to put this down the bottom, making sure my flowers are sort of going upwards. Once again, my little borders around. Now I do have a confession to make. When I did my photograph, I had a 3x4 mat, but I made a boo-boo with my photograph. I made it too small. So I'm just going to eyeball it and make my mat fit my photograph. Now that is going to sit in the middle, because I have got one of these that I want up here, like so. So just sort of place where that's going to go. So we'll stick that down. And I tend to put my tape in a bit so that you can, if you're doing any tucking under, you've actually got room to tuck. So we'll pop that in the middle as we were going to do, and not wedging this bit down. So we've sort of got it in situ, but not. Now this is going to sit here. So, and then we've got there we go. Okay, so we are going to glue this one down. Making straight with the ticket. This one here I might put on some foam tape to give it a bit of lift. And this one there we have our card done. Before we go on to the next card, I also forgot I did one of those little sticker, and we want him just up there, so I just type together, and that one's finished. Now the next one, I did my own die cut, which I've got a great view, which came in my last kit, which was fantastic, so I could use that. Now with this particular one, because I'm using this, I want it to show up, so I haven't actually put a a mat around this photograph. So what I've got is my 6x4 with my little border cut for my next sheet, which is 5 3/4 by 3 3/4. I then cut another one at 3 3/4 by 3 1/4, so that it's sort of just jutting over. So we are going to lay him down, and I've edged them once again in the brown ink. Then this one here, now I remembered I put this one over as far as I could get. So it's only a very, very tiny border. And that's the one thing that's really good with the Express-It tape. You can actually move them around for the first couple of hours. Then after that, they absolutely stick solid. So you won't be able to move stuff. So now we're just going to lay this little bit of spotty card just with the little border. Then the photograph is going to go down here because I want to get my great view on my photograph like that. And then the flower is going here. And I did have a word that what a, so I thought I'd put what a great view. So I want my photograph as low as I can possibly get it. So I'm going to stick my photograph down first before I do anything else. And get that stuck down. You can actually see, if you didn't have anything like this, I would put your black mat down and then do everything else around that. I'll put the flower here. Now with this, I'm going to cut that off. And then remember what I said with this, if you rub your edge, you get a really nice border. And we're going to put that up the top. And then with a bit of glue, and as you can tell from this photograph, there really was absolutely, you're on top of the hill at the lookout, and it's absolutely amazing the views that you've got. I'll just put a little bit of glue on this. Now I've lined up the T so it's lining with the photograph. Now for our last landscape 6x4 card, I'm going to make a flap because I had extra photographs that I wanted slipped in that were of the same story, because I've got twins, and as you can tell they are very, very close, as this one definitely shows, and I sort of wanted to write a bit about that. So what I've done is, when you're going to do flat pages, you virtually have to work out with your folder system where your openings are, because it makes it a lot easier to whether you do a side flap or a top flap, and etc. if you haven't got an opening here, I would actually do the flap at the top here, because the tops always open up. Just makes it easier than having to slice open a slit to actually pop your flap in. So I'm going to be doing a top flap to fit in this bottom corner. So how I do this, I've got my 6x4, and then I've done my border as I would normally do. So I will make this card up by putting it all together as I've sort of planned. So this one here, I want to go into the middle, and I want it fully all the way across. So it's 2 inches by 6 inches all the way across, like so. Then I wanted my large photograph, which I've just put onto the mat and cut, and then that is going to go slightly over, because my flap is going to go here. That will go up and over. So what I have done here, I have cut a piece which is 3x4, like so, and I've cut a corresponding 3x4 piece. Now, because it's a top, if it was a side pocket, you would put your fold here, but because it's a top pocket, it is going up here. So what I have to do is this piece has to be lodged inside. So I'm going to take and make sure you stick these really, really well, because they do take a bit of punishment as people open and shut them. Flaps are a great way of adding extra real estate to your layouts. Actually, I might stick this on here first. Right. Okay, so stick your first page on like so. And then fold down, making sure that this piece of paper you've got enough room for the fold. And then the top flap, I'm making sure that this is well and truly got a lot of tape on there to make sure that it really stays put. Okay, so then just get your ink and give it a good old and don't forget to do the top as well. And there we have our fold. Now you could put a magnet down here, but I tend to find once it's been laying flat, it tends to stay flat. Now for the top, I have just cut a card which is 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. And once again with these, because it's not in a folder, make sure you put tape on all edges. This, and I've edged this in brown. And you can see it's sort of, the two match up. And this is going right in the middle, like so. Now I'm going to put another 2 pieces of tape across the top. To make sure it stays firmly in place. And that's going in the middle. I also have made a little, that 2 stamps, so when this gets folded up, it's going to stick down. And I am going to attach this also with extra glue. We'll move that up just slightly. I have made a mistake with this. I didn't ink it. I'm going to very gently so that you've got a flap to do this with. Now this piece I want to stick here. And then I'm going to put this up here. Once again, take your tape off, and because it's not in a folder, make sure that you put plenty of tape on your item to make it sure that it doesn't move anywhere. Now on this also, just to add a bit of interest, stick just a piece down there, then the photograph can go on. And there we have our flat card, and as you can tell, here is your folder. It will go in like so, and you have a flap pocket there, which just gives you that little bit, or as I said, you could put it up into the top. So there we have that card finished. And now we'll get on with the rest of our 3x4s. Right, on to our last of our cards, which are the 3x4s, which are the portrait. Now, as you remember, I always said to cut the extra sheets when you're doing your base cards. You can actually see on the other side, I have actually got the matching card, and I've also got the green here, just to tie them in so that your layer has some flow to it. So what I've done with this one, I've got my 3x4, cut my base card out, which is 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. I've just put a green strip from the scraps. I had one of my tags, and once again I am just going to stick a bit of extra on there, like so. I have got my number, and I've also got my other number to put on, but I won't do that yet because I want to have a fiddle to see how everything's going to sit. Like that. So I will stick straight away onto my tag. So get them stuck. Okay, so let's put the tag down. Now, if you remember rightly, when I was using one of these tags, I actually put some ribbon on there. I actually cut that ribbon off because I really disliked it. Okay, we're just going to pop that on. I'm going to slide that down so that it's down towards the bottom. And this tag came from the ephemera pack that came with the kit. And from my junk, I decided, because it was a road trip, just put because I've used a wooden element, I've used another one. There is one of our cards done. I have also done the photographs here. I have done one with just the blue with the black to match the other side, and the other one has a matching. Now, I do have a confession. I did cut this photograph a bit off, so I've just made a mat and made it fit. The other eye candy that we're doing is the green. And because I have got some square wording on the other side, I'm doing it on this side as well. I've got the film strip as well to match up to the other side of the layout. So I am going to stick the film strip down, and I've edged all these cards again in the brown ink. I sort of want that in the middle, like so. We are going to stick and leave the top unstuck for the moment. Get this down the bottom. Now I've got some tags here that I want to use. So this one needs to go underneath that film strip. Once again, this came from the ephemera pack. stick that in like that. Then I'll want my tickets to just go in the top like so. So we will attach these. Once again, this one's from my Tim Holtz ticket stamp. It was quite expensive, but it was well worth every penny I paid for it, because I really have used them. And then we'll stick the little tag in. Like so, and then the tape that we had on the back of that card, flip that off and attach that down. There we have the last of our cards finished. So this is what your cards would look like when they're all laid side by side, ready to go into your pocket folders. And don't forget the little card that we made to give us those extra room for a couple of extra photographs. You can fit 9 photographs on here, plus the 2 small ones on here. So you do have plenty of real estate for your photographs to go in. I do hope that you really like this process that I do to make my scrapbooking layouts. I use mine as an album, not as a Project Life diary, but I do like the pocket pages for the freedom that it gives you. And if you did like this process, I've got plenty of other videos using different paper lines, different techniques on my YouTube channel, and I've put the link in the bottom of the description box. And please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, because that way you'll get to know when other new content comes up and I download extra videos and things for you. And leave a comment as well, particularly if you want a certain type of paper or a different technique that you want to learn about, because I can incorporate those into my next lot of layouts. So I will be back soon with another video using another exciting paper collection. So till next time, happy crafting from Deb from Project Life Way. Bye.